When we last saw Lara Croft in the hit Tomb Raider series, it seemed like the end had come for the popular heroine.
She had a very, very near scrape with death at the end of the last Revelation. The temple collapsed around her and her body's been missing, presumed dead, so...
We wanted to leave the viewing public on a sort of cliffhanger. Did she die? Didn't she die?
And us saying that she was lost, presumed dead, was a way for us to sort of get Lara to refocus on her own life, you know, look back into herself about her priorities, what's important. So, so needless to say, she is alive and well, and she's going to come out guns a-blazing.
Lara returns in Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness, which continues from the end of the last Tomb Raider game.
But we just started off as Lara's been taken to Paris. She got called from Von Croy, and she finds him dead. And she's suddenly framed for his murder. And she's on the run from the French police, and it's a whole new scenario instead of the usual Tomb Raider-y thing.
And very soon, everything that's been there for Lara, being famous, you know, people recognising her, being this face around the world, it all works against her because suddenly everybody wants to catch her.
She's trying to go through and investigate who actually did kill Von Croy. That sort of leads her into a much deeper storyline. It's not just a crazed psychopath, it's a 15th century alchemist who's doing these ritual killings to rule the world. And she's got to clear her name by destroying him.
As Lara sets out to find Von Croy's killer, she finds that her ordeals have weakened her and that she needs to build up her strength and skills again.
She was really weakened at the tomb in Egypt. So it's the story of her sort of returning as a character, giving her the abilities that she once had and then lost.
We shall have an ability to improve her upper body strength or lower body strength. So as the game progresses, you'll find that she can perform longer jumps, or she can hang on to monkey swings longer and go over parts that she couldn't have done previously.
The Lara that you play potentially will be a different Lara to my Lara. I may be able to run a little bit faster with Lara, and I can get through that door that's always shutting, whereas you haven't quite honed those skills and can't get through that door, but you might be able to climb better than me, so you can go around that corner and drop down the courtyard that I can't get to.
We've also added more moves. She can do proper stealth moves now. She's got a lot of hand-to-hand combat in there, punching, kicking. She can sneak around corners. She can take enemies out and then sort of hide again.
Part of what allowed the core team to develop these new moves for Lara was the power of the PlayStation 2. They further tapped this potential to develop a host of other improvements that will push Lara's adventures to the next level.
Everything just goes up to a new level that nobody will have seen before, because we're allowed to do so much more with the PS2. Lara's 8,000 polygons. PS1 version, she was 600. So we've been able to add a whole new dimension of detail to her. She will actually lip sync when she talks to characters. They'll actually, you know, have full facial expressions and lip sync back at Lara.
Medicinal potions and herbal extracts.
This Tomb Raider game is a lot darker than previous games, as in the storyline is much more sinister.
So the mood, the atmosphere is something that we've been very keen to create. I think that lends itself to the lighting system.
So we've tried to beef up the lighting a lot by adding the shadow maps. In certain areas we've got really very realistic shadows casting across the floor from objects, from Lara, other enemy characters. Everything casts shadows onto everything. Makes a hell of a difference.
As Lara struggles to determine what's happened to Von Croy, she runs into a new character in the Tomb Raider series, a character who's an integral part of the game.
His name is Curtis, and he is the coolest character ever. He's a member of an ancient sect of knights called the Lux Veritatis. They've sort of got paranormal powers, and basically he's a demon hunter.
We wanted Curtis to be quite a different character to Lara. It's going to be quite an interesting sort of love-hate relationship that they have initially, because Curtis is there in this game and he's always one step ahead of Lara. He's almost like the thorn in her side. He seems to be on his own mission, has his own agenda, but he's always just there one stage ahead of her.
so they don't like each other at all, and it's not till later on in the game that they sort of get to work as a team.
One of the hallmarks of the Tomb Raider series has always been the creative use of puzzles in the game, and Angel of Darkness is no exception.
And as we have looked at what people have enjoyed playing in Tomb Raider, it has actually been that sort of hard-edged puzzles. It's been that standing there, knowing where you've got to go, but trying to work out how to solve that puzzle. Also, we've got those sudden death sort of things where if you just don't get it right, she begins to fall, you've got that timing just to grab that ledge or grab that precipice just before she plummets to her death.
Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness is the first part of a new story for Lara Croft, one that the game's creators have already mapped out.
The story within this game doesn't end within this game.
And this is very much, the first few chapters of the book, if you like.
There's a lot of unanswered questions that we've already planned for future titles.
It sounds like the team at Core have plenty of adventures in store for us in the future. Be sure to check out the start of this new era for Lara Croft when Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness hits stores late April. We recently caught up with Lara Croft doing a teleconferenced interview from Paris for our adoring fans at E3. She took time out from her busy schedule to get together with the Underground for a little one-on-one. Lara Croft, rumors are that you were dead, so what exactly happened to you in Egypt?
Events were a little hazy. I was trapped in an Egyptian tomb, but the Bedouin tribe rescued me and took me in.
Now, is it true that you murdered Warder Von Croy? And if not, do you know who did?
I don't think so, but events at his apartment are pretty hazy. There's a serial killer on the loose in Paris at the moment. Maybe he's involved.
Was he able to tell you anything before he died?
He told me that he'd been asked to acquire a number of 14th century artworks from a mysterious client called Eckhart.
So, Lara, what's your weapon of choice amongst the considerable arsenal at your disposal?
My mind, obviously.
Why did you decide to release the console version of the game exclusively on the PlayStation 2?
Well, I've always had a close association with Sony. They've been involved with me from the beginning, and I'm over the moon that they'll be exclusively helping console game players to join me in the Angel of Darkness.
So what did you think of Angelina Jolie's performance in the Tomb Raider movie?
I thought she was absolutely fantastic, and what a likeness to myself.
Lara, you seem to be sporting a new look. Have you had any work done?
Well, yes, I have actually. I used to be made up of 500 polygons, but now I'm 5,000. What do you think of my new look? Thank you, official PlayStation magazine, for your support. I look forward to seeing all my fans this November. Bye for now.
It's always a challenge when approaching the creation of a new game. There is pressure to do something different, to lead the way, to deliver even better characters, environments and stories. Over the years with Tomb Raider, each adventure has broken new ground and taken the player to even more exotic locations and arenas. And now onto a new arena, the next generation console.
Our vision is to take the player somewhere dark, a place they might not necessarily wish to go, but a place that they'll have to venture if they want to bring Lara back.
This world is from the imagination, but based in reality. A dark world, a dangerous world, a world that reflects the change in Lara.
It will be a new experience, one that will almost be shocking to people who have played Tomb Raider in the past.
From the catacombs of the Louvre to the alleys of Prague, we searched for the seedier side of life. A world that you wouldn't normally see Lara in, but a world that she has no choice but to inhabit.
Like her audience, like the game's consoles themselves, Lara has grown up. Her experiences in Tomb Raider 4 have forced her to question herself. This game will ask more questions of her.
It was a very conscious decision to leave out elements of Lara's story since Tomb Raider 4. Certain aspects of that story will return. It's just a matter of when and where.
For the first time, Lara will have a moral choice to make. It's no longer a clear-cut case of good versus evil. This is a more complex tale which will ask more complex questions of the player.
The player controls how the story develops much more than in previous Tomb Raiders. Basically, when Lara talks to a character, the player can also choose whether Lara is nice, nasty, or dismissive to another character.
This game sets a new benchmark for character animation. The new consoles allow for an unprecedented level of subtlety in the way the characters can act. Some characters may betray more than their feelings. In this world, the player should look as well as listen.
The advancements in game technology allow for much more complex movement from the characters. They have spines, joints, they even have fingers. They move in different ways. We borrow these movements from real people. The man on the A57, the woman on the bus. They travel much further than they think.
The player will choose which paths to take, which characters to trust, which lies to believe, and which enemy to face.
Some enemies may become allies. Some enemies may become something far worse.
Certain enemies have taken years of conception, gestating through design and redesign. I am the first to see them born, the first to guide them through the early stages, their first steps, their first kills, until they are finally unleashed upon the world.
When you walk into this world, you walk into a film with multiple paths and possibilities, but one story drawing you through. This world begins in an act of darkness. How this world ends is up to you.
This is a world of shadows. There is a shadow on Lara. He watches, waits, he bides his time. His name is Curtis. He wants revenge. And Lara will help him extract that revenge. For the first time, there is another playable character in Tomb Raider. A character whose abilities combine the supernatural with the superhuman. He has a different approach to Lara, less subtle perhaps, but still effective against certain opponents.
It's a much more intelligent game for the enemies as well as Lara. The PlayStation 2's got much more power to process enemies doing much more complicated things.
The enemies in the game have evolved. They will work together. Notice when another enemy is killed and react accordingly.
These enemies will pursue Lara. They will not stop. They have not stopped in 600 years.
The Monstrum, the Cabal, Eckhart. An unholy trinity guided by an unspeakable force. Their origins lie in the annals of alchemy, not in its purported search for the secrets of gold, but in its real search for the secrets of the atom. If you control the atom, you can control life. You can create life, and you can steal life from others.
This story is very much on an epic scale, from 14th century alchemists to serial killers in modern day France. To create something on this scale, it was necessary to take the ideas and production values from the film industry, in the way they research the subjects, the backstory they create for their characters, and the depth of the visuals.
This level of production requires a total consistency of purpose. Every aspect of the game has to be in keeping with the overall concept. Every person working on the game knows that they are working on an epic, and everything they do has to reflect that, from concept to completion.
For the music to match the scale of the production, we decided to use the same process that major film studios use. In this case, the London Symphony Orchestra.
It's an overwhelming thought having your music played by 84 of the world's top musicians, but the effect of the music when playing Angel of Darkness will be well worth the shredding of our nerves.
On the day of the recording, we are in the good hands of Abbey Road Studios and David Snell, the conductor. In a sense, he visualises the music and translates it to the ears.
We wanted the music to be ever present, draw you into the world without you noticing. Part of the style of this game is that all the elements work together, bide their time, wait for the moments when they're needed.
At core, we had a very clear vision of where we wanted to go. We wanted to take the Lara we all knew and put it into a game, a situation that no one knows. Tomb Raider has always set the benchmark for games. This game will be no different.
Some may see elements of various filmmakers, such as Luc Besson, David Fincher.
Some may see elements of various artists, Grunwald, Bosch. All will see something they haven't seen before.
When we wrote this story, we wrote a book. This game is only the first few chapters of that book. This game opens a lot of doors and only closes a few of them.